My wife told me not to walk beside her at the airport because I'd embarrass her in front of her wealthy friends. I just nodded and walked away. 2 weeks later, when she came back expecting life to be the same, she found out I'd quietly taken apart everything she relied on. This is how it happened. My name is William Mitchell. I'm 41, and one morning at Denver International Airport changed everything. Kristen was packing for a 2-week wellness retreat in Miami with Serena and Bianca, trust fund daughters who measured value in Instagram likes. For 3 years, I'd been funding her lifestyle blog, watching our savings vanish while she chased influencer dreams that never paid off. Our 8-year-old son, Noah, sat silently eating cereal, watching his mother cram designer clothes into Louis Vuitton luggage. He'd learned not to ask for her attention whenever she was glued to her phone. "Daddy, are you taking Mommy to the airport?" he asked quietly. "Of course, buddy," I replied, noticing how thin he'd gotten lately. The drive to DI was tense. Kristen spent half an hour planning outfits with her friends, treating me like her chauffeur instead of the husband she'd been with for 10 years. At the drop-off area, I started unloading her bags when I saw them, Serena and Bianca stepping out of a black Mercedes like they were walking a runway. Everything they wore screamed luxury and social status. Kristen instantly switched personalities, her tone suddenly cheerful and fake as she waved at them. I'd seen that act before, how she became someone else around those women. Then it happened. "William," she said quietly, pulling me aside. "Don't walk me to check in. You'll embarrass me in front of Serena and Bianca." The words hit like a punch. After 10 years of marriage, after all the sacrifices I'd made to support her, she was ashamed of me. "Excuse me," I said, hoping I'd misheard. "They don't really know you, and it'll just be awkward if you stick around. Just leave the bags on the curb." One look at her face told me what I'd been avoiding for years. This wasn't the woman I married. She saw me as a burden to be managed. I nodded slowly, set her bags down, and walked back to my truck without another word. As I drove off, I watched her in the rearview mirror, struggling with her luggage, too proud to call me back, and her friends too busy taking selfies to help her. That 20-minute drive home gave me clarity. I'd been invisible for years. Kristen didn't want a husband. She wanted a faceless wallet funding her fantasy. Time to give her exactly that. Walking into our Aspen house felt like stepping into someone else's life. Everything looked the same. The designer furniture Kristen chose for maximum Instagram appeal, the professional lights for her morning videos, the props arranged to make our home look like a movie set. But now, I saw it all differently. Noah was still at the counter, doing homework with unusual focus for an 8-year-old. I sat across from him with my coffee and really looked at my son for the first time in weeks. "Hey, buddy, are you okay? You seem kind of skinny lately." He shrugged, not looking up. "Mom says I should watch what I eat because I look puffy in her photos." My stomach dropped. "What kind of things does she say about food?" He frowned. "That pizza makes you bloated and bread makes you fat, and I should eat salads and protein if I want to be healthy like her friends' kids." Our 8-year-old was dieting because his mother thought he looked bad in her social media pictures. The same woman who spent hundreds each month on wellness coaching and supplements was limiting our son's meals for the sake of her image. "Noah, listen carefully," I said, keeping my tone calm. "You're growing, and you're perfect just the way you are. Tomorrow we're having pancakes for breakfast and pizza for lunch, okay?" His eyes lit up like it was Christmas. "Really? Mom won't be mad." "Mom's not here," I said softly. "And when it comes to your health, Dad gets a say too." That night, after Noah went to sleep, I did something I'd never done before. I went through Kristen's digital life. Her laptop, her socials, her private messages. What I found made me sick. Months of chats with Serena and Bianca about how Noah was difficult and not camera-friendly enough for their family content. Talks about boarding schools that would help parents focus on personal growth while providing structure for kids. But the real shock was hidden in her email drafts, a half-written message to an education consultant about discrete placement options for gifted children whose home environment might benefit from professional structure. She was planning to send Noah away, not because he had issues or needed help, but because an 8-year-old didn't fit her carefully polished online image. I kept digging, and what I uncovered made everything worse. Hidden credit cards I never knew existed, each maxed out with thousands of dollars in charges for wellness coaches, lifestyle consultants, and something called personal brand optimization services. Kristen had been secretly spending our money on experts who were teaching her how to create a life that erased the parts she didn't like, namely, her husband and her child. The final confirmation came when I checked her search history. How to protect assets before divorce. Custody agreements that favor child welfare. Building evidence of parental fitness. My wife wasn't just embarrassed by me or planning to send our son away. She was getting ready to divorce me and cast herself as the perfect mother while turning me into the villain standing in Noah's way. Tomorrow, I was calling Connor Fox, my business partner and the closest thing I had to a brother, and then the best family lawyer in Colorado. Kristen had no idea what kind of man she was underestimating. The next morning, I sat across from Connor at his kitchen table while Noah played video games in the other room. Connor and I had built our company together over 6 years, and he knew me better than anyone. He took one look at me, poured 2 mugs of black coffee, and said, "All right, William, you look like hell. What happened?" I told him everything. The airport humiliation, Noah's forced diet, the secret spending, the plans to send our son away. Connor didn't interrupt once, but with every detail, his expression hardened. "William," he said finally, "I've watched you build a $12 million company while that woman treated you like her personal ATM. But this isn't about money anymore. It's about your kid." "I know," I said quietly. "I just don't know what to do." "Yeah, you do," Connor replied, leaning forward. "You're just too decent to admit it. You keep honoring vows she already broke when she decided your son didn't fit her image." He was right. I'd spent years excusing her behavior, convincing myself that marriage meant fixing problems together. But this wasn't something to fix. She wanted to erase her own child because he didn't match her feed's color palette. "What's our company worth?" I asked. "About 12 million, split evenly." "Why?" "Because everything I own is about to be dragged into court. I need to know where I stand." Connor nodded. "Smart. But if you're doing this, you have to be strategic. Document everything. Proof of her spending, her plans for Noah, her priorities. Build evidence she's unfit." "Already started," I said. "Found the boarding school messages." "Good. What else?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the credit card statements. He whistled. 30 grand in 6 months on wellness coaches and lifestyle gurus, while putting your kid on a diet. That's brutal." "It gets worse," I said. "She's been paying Charlotte for private consultations, the same woman who called me authentically blue-collar at the airport like it was some kind of disease." Connor finished his coffee and leaned back. "All right, here's what you do. Hire the best family attorney in Colorado, someone who knows high-net-worth divorces and business valuations. Start building your case that Noah belongs with you." "What about the company?" I asked. "We'll protect it," he said. "There are legal ways to separate business and personal assets. But you have to move fast." "How long is she gone?" 10 more days." "Perfect. That gives us time to get ahead before she comes back. By the time Kristen walks through that door, you'll already be 3 steps ahead of whatever story she tries to sell." For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. Connor was right. I'd been playing defense too long. It was time to go on offense. "One more thing," he added as I stood to leave. "Change every password you've got. Bank accounts, email, everything. If she's been hiding credit cards, there's no telling what else she's been into." I shook his hand, feeling more like myself than I had in years. "Thanks, Connor. I owe you one." "You don't owe me anything, brother. Just get your son out of that mess." That afternoon, I called Sarah Chun, Denver's top family law attorney. Her reputation for handling complex custody battles was legendary, and she came highly recommended by Connor's lawyer. "Mr. Mitchell," she said during our consultation, "based on what you've told me, we need to act fast, but smart. Can you be in my office tomorrow morning?" The next day, I sat across from a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s whose confidence filled the room. Her downtown office overlooked the city, the walls covered in awards and certifications that told me I was in the right place. "Let me be direct," Sarah said, scanning the documents I'd brought. "Your wife's documented plans to send Noah to boarding school for the sake of her social media image, combined with the secret spending and the diet restrictions for your child, clearly show a pattern of parental neglect," Sarah said. "But we'll need more proof." "What kind of proof?" I asked. "Medical records showing Noah's weight loss. Reports from the school counselor if he's mentioned anxiety about food or home life. Screenshots of her social media posts that either exclude him or present a fake version of your family. We need to show a consistent pattern. I nodded, taking notes on my phone. What about the business? She'll try to take half. Not if we prove it's a separate asset. Something you built before the marriage and she never contributed to, Sarah replied. Do you have any records showing she's never worked for the company? She's never worked anywhere, I said. Her blog doesn't make money. It only spends it. Sarah gave a tight smile. Even better. We'll argue she's been living off your income while ignoring her main responsibility as a parent. Colorado courts don't look kindly on parents who prioritize Instagram over their children. For the next hour and a half, we mapped out the plan. Sarah would prepare the paperwork, but wait to file until Kristen returned home. Meanwhile, I'd collect everything I could, spending records, messages about Noah, and any proof of neglect. Mr. Mitchell, Sarah said seriously, I have to ask, are you absolutely sure you want to move forward? Divorce is costly, and with a child involved, it can be emotionally brutal. I thought of Noah sitting at the kitchen counter asking if he was allowed to eat. I thought of Kristen chatting about boarding schools like she was planning a getaway. Sarah, my wife told me not to walk beside her at the airport because I'd embarrass her in front of her friends. That's when I realized she doesn't see me as a partner. She sees me as a problem. But what really matters isn't how she treats me. It's how she treats our son. Understood, Sarah said. One last thing, don't let her suspect anything. When she gets back, act like everything's normal. Let her think you've accepted her version of reality while we build the case quietly. When I left her office, it felt like I'd just declared war, though it wasn't revenge I wanted. This was about protecting Noah from a mother who saw him as a prop that didn't fit her feed. That evening, I called Noah's school and asked to meet with his teacher and the school counselor. If Kristen's obsession with appearances had affected him, it would show up in his behavior. Time to start gathering evidence. The meeting confirmed everything I feared. Mrs. Anderson, his third-grade teacher, and Dr. Phillips, the counselor, sat across from me with sympathetic looks. Mr. Mitchell, Mrs. Anderson began gently, we've noticed some concerning changes in Noah's behavior. Dr. Phillips opened a folder. He's been asking for permission to eat his lunch, which is unusual for his age. He also asks whether certain foods are bad or will make him puffy. These are not typical concerns for an 8-year-old. My chest tightened. What else have you noticed? He's lost noticeable weight, Mrs. Anderson continued. During class parties or events, he refuses snacks or asks repeatedly if he's allowed a small piece of cake or a cookie. Dr. Phillips laid out several drawings from Noah's art class. These are especially telling. In every drawing for the past 2 months, Noah draws himself very small and apart from the rest of the family. His mother is always distant, often holding an object, usually a phone. I studied the pictures, my heart breaking with each one. In one, Noah had drawn himself tiny in the corner, Kristen towering in the middle, holding her phone. I appeared normal-sized, but separated from them both. Has he said anything about home? I asked. He talks about enjoying weekends with you, Mrs. Anderson said softly, but he's clearly anxious about disappointing his mother. Last week he told me he was practicing how to stand straighter for pictures. Dr. Phillips leaned forward. Mr. Mitchell, children Noah's age should be focused on learning, friendship, and play. The body image and food worries we're seeing are more common in teens, or in kids under pressure at home. What do you recommend? I asked quietly. We're documenting everything in his file, Dr. Phillips said. If legal action becomes necessary, we're ready to testify about what we've observed, both emotionally and behaviorally. Mrs. Anderson nodded. We've also seen that Noah seems calmer and more self-assured on the days you drop him off or pick him up. His whole attitude shifts. After the meeting, I sat in my truck outside the school, reviewing my notes. Every piece of evidence told the same story. Kristen was emotionally harming our son to maintain her perfect online persona. That night, I called Connor with an update. William, this is exactly what Sarah needs for the custody case, Connor said. Professional proof of emotional neglect is powerful in court. I just can't believe it's gotten this bad. How did I not see it? I asked. Because you've been working 80-hour weeks to support them while she's been quietly damaging your kids' mental health. This isn't on you, brother. Connor was right. I'd been so focused on being a good provider that I completely missed what was happening under my own roof. What's next? I asked. Sarah wants to meet with you and Noah together, Connor replied. She needs to evaluate his emotional condition herself and document his relationship with both of you. The thought of putting Noah through a legal assessment made my stomach turn, but protecting him mattered more than my discomfort. Schedule it, I said. And Connor, thank you. That's what brothers are for. We'll get Noah out of this mess. 3 days before Kristen's return, I discovered something that changed everything. While organizing Noah's school papers, I came across a form that made my blood run cold. A permission slip allowing the school counselor to perform ongoing emotional wellness checks for Noah Mitchell. It was dated 2 months earlier and signed by Kristen. I immediately called Dr. Phillips. Dr. Phillips, this is William Mitchell. I found a permission slip my wife signed for regular assessments of Noah. Can you tell me what this is about? There was a pause. Mr. Mitchell, your wife reached out with concerns about Noah's behavior at home. She requested continuing evaluations to track what she called troubling patterns. What kind of patterns? I asked. According to Mrs. Mitchell, Noah was showing aggression, defiance, and emotional instability. She wanted professional documentation. My heart froze. Dr. Phillips, we've talked about Noah's anxiety and food issues. Have you seen anything like that? Absolutely not, she said. Noah's one of the most polite and calm children I've ever worked with. He's anxious and withdrawn, yes, but never defiant or aggressive. Everything snapped into focus with terrifying clarity. Kristen hadn't just planned to send Noah away. She was building a case to prove I was an unfit father. The emotional harm she caused was being twisted into evidence of my supposed failings. Dr. Phillips, I need every record you have, assessments, notes, and all correspondence with my wife. Mr. Mitchell, she said carefully, you should know your wife's been asking a lot of questions about Noah's relationship with you. She seemed focused on gathering proof that he might do better in a more structured environment. I drove straight to Sarah's office with the permission slip and my new understanding of Kristen's scheme. Sarah read through everything with the precision of a prosecutor. William, she said, this is clear parental alienation. She's been intentionally harming Noah's emotional health while pretending to be the caring parent addressing issues that don't exist. Can we prove it with Dr. Phillips's testimony? I asked. Absolutely. The records show Noah's anxiety rises in direct relation to his mother's obsession with his looks and behavior. Meanwhile, her requests focus on problems no teacher or counselor has ever seen. Sarah leaned back, her voice sharp. William, I've seen manipulation before, but this is sociopathic. She's gaslighting an 8-year-old to win custody. So what now? We gather every bit of proof and prepare for battle. When Kristen returns, let her believe her plan's working while we build a case for full custody. By the time we're done, she'll be lucky to get supervised visits. I left her office feeling like I discovered my wife was a stranger. The woman I married, the mother of my child, had been abusing our son while planning to paint me as the problem. But now I had the truth. And truth, armed with evidence, was about to set Noah free. The day before Kristen's return, Sarah called with final instructions. William, when she gets back, act completely normal. Don't mention me, the school, or anything we've prepared. Let her believe nothing's changed. What if she brings up Noah's behavior or the boarding school? Listen, document. Don't argue. The more she talks, the stronger our case gets. That evening, I sat down with Noah. Buddy, when Mom comes home tomorrow, things might feel a little different for a bit. But I want you to know, no matter what happens, you're safe with me, okay? Noah looked up from his homework, his eyes too old for his 8 years. Dad, am I going to that school Mom talked about on the phone? My heart nearly stopped. You heard her talking about school? She was in the kitchen, laptop open, casually repeating things she had said to Noah, like how kids like him do better in structured environments and that I work too much to handle his problems. Hearing it echoed back made me realize just how much damage had already been done. She had conditioned him to believe he was a problem and that I was an inadequate father. Noah, listen carefully, I said. You don't have any problems that need fixing. You're a healthy, normal boy. You deserve to eat pizza, play video games, and not worry about how you look in pictures. And I don't work too much to take care of you. You're the most important thing in my life. Noah's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? And we're going to make sure you never have to worry about being sent away again. The next afternoon, Kristen's Uber pulled into our driveway. I watched from the window as she stepped out, perfectly dressed in her coordinated travel outfit, phone already in hand to capture her return. She walked through the door with that bright, social media-ready smile, arms wide for hugs that felt rehearsed. "I'm home. Did you miss me?" she called cheerfully. Noah ran to her dutifully, but I noticed his hesitation before the hug, how quickly he pulled away. Kristen noticed too, and her expression shifted slightly. Disappointment that the emotional reunion she'd likely planned for filming wasn't happening. "How was your trip?" I asked calmly. "Amazing. Transformative. I got so many new ideas for the blog, and Serena and Bianca introduced me to some incredible wellness professionals. We need to discuss some exciting opportunities." She was already back in performance mode, treating our family like props for content. "Where's my welcome home kiss?" she asked, moving toward me with her practiced smile. I gave a brief, polite kiss on the cheek. She frowned at the lack of enthusiasm, but quickly recovered. "Noah, sweetheart, you look so thin. Have you been eating properly while mommy was gone?" The question sounded caring, but the underlying criticism of Noah's appearance and my parenting was obvious. "We've been eating great," I said before Noah could answer. "Pancakes, pizza, ice cream, all his favorites." Kristen's smile became strained. "Well, we'll have to get back to our healthy routine now that I'm home." The battle lines were drawn. It was time to see how far she would push her agenda, thinking she was back in control. 3 days after Kristen's return, she made her move. I was in my home office when she knocked, carrying a manila folder and wearing the expression she uses when delivering important news. "William, we need to discuss Noah's future," she said, sitting across from me. "I've been thinking a lot during my trip, and I've made some decisions." "What kind of decisions?" I asked. She opened a folder and pulled out glossy brochures for expensive boarding schools. "I've been researching educational opportunities better suited for Noah. These are top institutions that specialize in children with behavioral and emotional challenges." I kept my voice steady. "What behavioral and emotional challenges?" "William, surely you've noticed how anxious and withdrawn he's become. The school counselor has documented concerning patterns for months. Dr. Phillips thinks a more structured environment will help him cope better." Every word was a lie, delivered with such conviction that I almost admired her sociopathic skill. She had manufactured the problems she was now claiming to solve by sending our son away. "Have you discussed this with Noah? Children his age can't make these decisions. As parents, we must do what's best for his development, even if he doesn't understand at first." She then pulled out completed applications, financial aid forms, and even a timeline for moving Noah to boarding school before the next school year. "Kristen, these schools cost $40,000 a year. How are we supposed to afford that? The business is doing well. This is an investment in Noah's future. And with him in the right environment, I can focus more energy on growing my platform. The wellness space is booming, and I have real opportunities to build something significant." There it was, the truth beneath all her concern. She wanted him gone so he wouldn't interfere with her influence and ambitions. "What if I don't agree?" I asked. Her expression hardened. "William, I've been documenting everything. Noah's anxiety, his food issues, his responses to stress. I have professional assessments showing our current situation isn't working. If you force me, I'll petition the court for sole custody based on proof that you cannot provide the stable environment he needs." She believed she was giving me an ultimatum that would force me to comply. Instead, she was confessing months of calculated emotional abuse while threatening to use it against me. "I see," I said calmly. "So, if I don't agree to send Noah away, you'll try to prove I'm an unfit father?" "I'm saying that sometimes legal intervention is necessary when parents can't agree on what's best for their child," she replied. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a folder. "Kristen, before you go any further, you need to see this." I handed her copies of the school's real assessments, Sarah's legal documents, and the permission slips she had forged. I watched her face change as her lies unraveled. "What is this?" "It's the truth about what you've been doing to Noah and your plan to frame me." Her mask finally fell. "You have no idea what you've done, William. I was trying to save this family." "No, Kristen, I was." The custody hearing lasted 3 days, but the result was never really in doubt. Sarah had built an airtight case documenting Kristen's emotional abuse and her attempts to frame me as an unfit father. Dr. Phillips testified about the forged permission slips and false claims. Mrs. Anderson presented Noah's drawings and his improved behavior when away from his mother. Child psychologist Dr. Rebecca Martinez explained how Kristen's food restrictions and appearance obsessions caused genuine anxiety in an 8-year-old. Kristen's attorney tried to paint her as a concerned mother, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge reviewed months of documentation showing Noah's issues existed only in Kristen's reports. Mrs. Mitchell, Judge Harrison said, "Your actions constitute deliberate psychological manipulation of a minor for personal gain. This court finds clear evidence of emotional abuse intended to support fraudulent custody claims." The final order granted me sole physical and legal custody. Kristen received supervised visitation contingent on parenting classes and a psychological evaluation, and was ordered to pay child support and Noah's therapy costs. Connor waited outside the courthouse with Noah, who had stayed with him during the hearing to avoid the stress. "How'd it go, Daddy?" Noah asked. "You're staying with me, buddy. Forever." Noah's smile was brighter than I'd seen in months. "Can we get pizza to celebrate?" "Anything you want," I said. On the drive home, Noah asked the question I'd anticipated. "Daddy, will Mommy be okay? She has problems she needs to fix, but that's not your job. Your job is just to be a kid." "I like being a kid with you better anyway." "Me too, buddy. Me too." 6 months later, Noah and I settled into a routine that felt natural. No more ring lights at breakfast. No anxiety about food. No tiptoeing around someone else's fragile ego. Our Aspen house felt like home again. I turned Kristen's filming studio into a proper guest room. The kitchen became a place for real cooking, not staged photos. Pancakes on weekdays, pizza whenever we wanted, no Instagram pressure. Noah began therapy with Dr. Martinez, who helped him understand that his mother's behavior wasn't his fault. "Noah is remarkably resilient," she said. "Children recover from psychological abuse much faster than adults, especially in a stable, loving environment. His food anxiety is nearly gone thanks to your consistent patience." My partnership with Connor strengthened as I could focus on being a present father and reliable business partner. "William, you're a different person now," Connor observed. "More focused, confident, decisive. Without managing someone else's instability, you can give energy to what truly matters." "How's the dating life?" I laughed. "Non-existent and fine. Noah and I are figuring out our family. Everything else can wait." Noah's progress was amazing. Grades improved, he made friends, and he acted like a normal 8-year-old. Soccer, birthday parties, and loud, carefree laughter returned. One evening, while helping with homework, Noah asked, "Daddy, can we have friends over for my birthday like a real party, with games and cake?" "Of course, buddy. Just a fun, messy party with no worrying about pictures." That weekend, we threw Noah the birthday party he deserved. 10 kids running in the backyard, playing games, eating cake, and filling the house with joyful chaos. No staged photos, no coordinated outfits, no anxiety, just pure childhood. Watching Noah blow out his candles, surrounded by friends who liked him for who he was, I realized something important. Kristen wanted a picture-perfect family for social media. Instead, Noah and I were living our authentic, imperfect life in peace. And that was more than enough.